Hi students, once again I'm here to connect you all through online classes. In the previous video I have explained you about control and coordination. Now this video also I'm going to give you the next part of the lesson. Before I start the lesson, I want you to know some important tips how to remember the concept for a longer period of time. How do you remember the concept for a longer period of time? You remember the concept only 10% when you read. You remember, children, when you read, you remember the concept only 10%. And when you hear, you remember the concept only 20%. And when you see, you remember the concept only 30%. And when you hear and see, you remember the concept 50%. And when you say and write, you remember the concept 70%. And when you write, say and do it practically or perform experiments based on the concept, you remember 90%. Now you understood, children, how can you remember the concept for a longer period of time? By writing, saying and doing experiments or practicing it many times, you can remember it for a longer period of time. In this video, I am going to explain you about importance of nervous system, classification of human nervous system, and then you are going to learn about in detail human brain, that is central nervous system and spinal cord. We shall learn about functions of nervous system, children. First function is it helps to control all the tissues, organs and parts of the body. So the functioning of tissues, organs and parts of the body is under the control of nervous system. And then we have nervous system play a very important role in control and coordination between the organs for proper functioning. The coordination of the organs for the proper functioning is because of nervous system. And we also know sense organs play a very important role to know the surroundings, children. So to know our surroundings, sense organs play a very important role, and that function is because of nervous system. And also the next important function is internal environment. So nervous system helps to gather the information about internal environment. So inside the body, that is involuntary activities, like we can see the digestive process, we can see the peristaltic movement, and also we can know the functioning of the heartbeat. So all this under the control of nervous system. And when you see higher faculties function, that is intelligence, reasoning, thinking, memory, emotion, all these are due to nervous system. And also involuntary movements are also under the control of nervous system, like the functioning of internal organs. Okay, as I told you, again internal organs in the sense the flow of blood, we can say, then the peristaltic movement also you can say, even the breathing activity, all these are involuntary. So these are under the control of nervous system. And very important is reflex action is under the control of nervous system. Immediate and automatic protective response to external stimuli is called reflex action. So all these are under the control of nervous system. Now we shall learn the classification of nervous system, children. The first thing is central nervous system, CNS, central nervous system, and peripheral nervous system. So central nervous system, what does it include? Central nervous system includes brain and spinal cord. So you have to remember, children, central nervous system includes brain and spinal cord. And what does peripheral nervous system includes? It includes voluntary nervous system, involuntary nervous system, and involuntary nervous system is also called as autonomic nervous system. And then voluntary nervous system includes cranial nerves and spinal nerves. So children, the nerves which arise from the brain are called cranial nerves, and the nerves which arise from the spinal cord are called spinal nerves. 12 pairs of cranial nerves, 31 pairs of spinal nerves, these two together we call it as peripheral nervous system. Clear, children? So peripheral nervous system includes 12 pairs of cranial nerves, 31 pairs of spinal nerves. And autonomic nervous system includes sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. This you are going to learn in detail, children. Now we shall learn about human brain, children. Human brain is also known as encephalon. And the study of structure, working and functioning of brain, we call it as encephalogy. So encephalogy is the study of structure, working and functioning of brain, children. And you know, children, brain weighs around 1.2 to 1.4 kg. The weight of the brain is around 1.2 to 1.4 kg. And we can study brain into three parts, children: forebrain, midbrain and hindbrain. And forebrain again divided into olfactory lobes, cerebrum, diencephalon. And midbrain, you are going to learn about cerebral peduncles and corpora quadrigemina. And hindbrain, you are going to learn about pons, cerebellum, medulla oblongata. Okay, children. So now we shall learn about brain. Now we shall see the structure of brain, children. The structure of brain, I told you, it is divided into three parts. This pink color, this is called the forebrain, children. Forebrain. And you can see here you can see this is the midbrain, and then hindbrain. Forebrain, you can see here midbrain and hindbrain. Okay, children. So the brain is divided into three parts: forebrain, midbrain and hindbrain. Okay, now we'll see again the forebrain is divided into two parts: olfactory lobes. So olfactory lobes, you can see here this part we can call it as olfactory lobes. And when you study the structure of brain, children, brain is covered by three protective membranes. It is protected by three protective membranes. The outer is called dura mater, and the middle is called arachnoid, and the innermost is called pie mater. Dura mater, arachnoid, innermost is called pie mater. Okay, children, these three together we call it as meninges. So meninges is nothing but the protective membrane of the brain, and brain is situated in the bony socket of the skull. And cranium is the protective membrane, or we call it as skull is nothing but we call it as cranium, so which gives protection to the brain. And these three membranes help to give protection to the brain from mechanical shocks and injuries. Protects the brain from mechanical shocks and injuries. And in between this membrane, you can see a fluid. Okay, that fluid is called cerebrospinal fluid, which helps to carry the important nutrients and oxygen from the brain to the spinal cord, and from spinal cord to the brain. Cerebrum is the largest part of the brain. Which is the site of intelligence, thinking, reasoning, and even memory also. So here the information from the sense organs carry the information and store the information in the brain cells and provide us whenever we want the information. That is called memory. Memory is nothing but the sensory neurons carry the information from the sense organs and store them in the cerebrum and provide us whenever we need. This we call it as memory. We have two parts in the brain, children, that is two hemispheres, cerebral hemispheres we call. Left cerebral hemisphere, right cerebral hemisphere. Left cerebral hemisphere and right cerebral hemisphere, these two are joined at the point called cerebral fissures. Cerebral fissures. Okay, children, the left cerebral hemisphere and the right cerebral hemisphere can be separated, and the left cerebral hemisphere controls the right side body organs, and the right cerebral hemisphere controls the left side body organs. If there is any injury to the right cerebral hemisphere, the left side body organs are affected. If there is any injury to the left cerebral hemisphere, the right side body organs are affected because they are connected. So there will be a question for you children. If there is injury to the left cerebral hemisphere, the left cerebral hemisphere, the right body organs are affected, because right, you have to give reason. Left cerebral hemisphere controls the right body organs, right side body organs, and right cerebral hemisphere controls the left side body organs. The brain has the outer is called the cerebral cortex, cerebral cortex, and the inner is called the cerebral medulla. The cortex is made up of gray matter, and the medulla is made up of white matter. Okay children, now we have the upper part is called the thalamus, the lower part is called hypothalamus, and upper is called the thalamus. This thalamus help to receive the information from all the sense organs, and hypothalamus help to control the involuntary activities like thirst, hunger, water balance in the body. So all this is taken care by hypothalamus, and in between you can find diencephalon. This is called diencephalon. So forebrain is divided into three parts. This is called olfactory lobes, I told, which helps to detect the smell, which is connected to the olfactory nerves to the nose. And then cerebrum, which is the largest part of the brain, which is the site of intelligence, memory, thinking, reasoning, everything. And then encephalon helps in connecting the link between the nervous system and endocrine system. So that is the function of diencephalon. It links between the nervous system and endocrine system. So now we'll come to midbrain children. What is the function of midbrain? Midbrain helps to connect the reflex movements of head, neck and trunk in response to light, sight and sound stimuli. They help to bring about reflex movements of head, neck and trunk in response to light, sight and sound. So for that purpose this midbrain is useful. So midbrain brings about reflex action regarding to head, neck and trunk with this. What are the stimulus? That is for light, sight and sound. Now we have hindbrain children. Hindbrain includes cerebellum, pons and medulla oblongata. Cerebellum, pons, and this part is called as medulla oblongata. So this medulla oblongata, pons and cerebellum together, all these three we call it as hindbrain. So hindbrain includes cerebellum, pons and medulla oblongata. Now we shall see, and the next medulla oblongata continues as spinal cord. Okay, now we shall see what is the function of cerebellum. So cerebellum, you can see when you join both the cerebral hemispheres children, cerebellum plays a very important role in maintaining equilibrium posture of the body when you stand or when you walk or when you are riding a cycle or jumping. The equilibrium posture is maintained only because of cerebellum. And not only that, cerebellum plays a very important role. It is the second largest part of the brain and also helps in bring voluntary activities. It even takes function of voluntary activities, and not only that, even maintaining the equilibrium posture. And the second one is pons. Pons varolii. We even call it as pons varolii. Pons varolii. So this pons varolii plays a very important role. It connects the cerebellum and medulla oblongata. It connects cerebellum and medulla oblongata. So what is the function of it is, it acts like a relay center. It acts like a relay center and also takes the function of respiratory center. It also takes the function of respiratory center, that is pons varolii. And What about medulla oblongata? Medulla oblongata takes the function of involuntary actions, children. It takes the function of involuntary actions. So what are those? Respiration, that is it helps in regulating the rate of breathing. Then cardiac center for regulating rate of heartbeat. Then regulation of blood pressure, and then also reflex center for swallowing, vomiting, coughing, sneezing, salivation, peristaltic movement. So all the involuntary activities are under the control of medulla oblongata. Now we shall see how to draw human brain, children. It's very important for your board exam. Very simple, children. First you have to draw an outline like this. Okay, children. So draw an outline like this. This becomes the cerebrum, which is the largest part of the brain. And then you can give a curve for thalamus. And then you have midbrain here. Here you have midbrain. This is the thalamus. Okay, children. Here you have hypothalamus. And then you have diencephalon here. This is the thalamus region. And here you find olfactory lobe. And you can take it like this for the extension of your pons and then medulla oblongata. And here you can give a flower like diagram, okay, for cerebellum. This is cerebellum. This is cerebrum. Okay, children. And cerebrum has got elevations. Like this, it has got elevations. Okay, you can draw the elevations like this. Curves. Elevations. And then this is the thalamus, hypothalamus. This is diencephalon. And here olfactory lobes you find. And this part you can extend it as, this is called the pons. This is medulla oblongata. This is cerebellum. Cerebellum, pons, medulla oblongata. Okay, children. This is the midbrain. Midbrain, diencephalon. Diencephalon. Okay, children, this part is called the cerebrum. Cerebrum. Clear, children? So this only out figure I have given you, children. Then you can only cerebrum, diencephalon, midbrain. Then you have cerebellum, pons, medulla oblongata, forebrain, midbrain, hindbrain. Okay, children. So this is how you have to draw the diagram. Now we'll see, and in central nervous system we completed about brain, children. Now we'll study about spinal cord. Spinal cord is the center of reflex action, children. It is the center of reflex action. So if you take this as spinal cord, so like this you can draw. This is the gray matter. This is called gray matter. Whereas in brain you can see the outer part contains gray matter, but whereas spinal cord, the inner part is gray matter and the outer is called the white matter. And you can see dorsal root and ventral root, children. Dorsal, so like this. So you can draw roots. This is called dorsal root. Sensory dorsal root we can call. Sensory dorsal root. Okay, children. And this side also you have to draw like this. This part is called ventral horn, and this is called dorsal horn. So this is called T. TS of spinal cord. TS of spinal cord, and spinal cord is the center of reflex action, children. The extension of the medulla oblongata only leads to spinal cord, and it is covered with the protective structure, that is vertebral column. Okay, children. Now, what is the function of this spinal cord? Spinal cord is the center of reflex action. It is the center of reflex action, and also it conducts sensory and motor impulses to and from the brain. It conducts sensory and motor impulses to the brain and from the brain. Now we shall learn about peripheral nervous system, children. Peripheral nervous system. In peripheral nervous system, you are going to learn. In peripheral nervous system, you are learning two types of nervous system, that is voluntary nervous system, voluntary and involuntary. So under voluntary nervous system, you are going to learn about spinal nerves and cranial nerves. So cranial nerves which arise from the brain, cranial nerves which arise from the brain, that is 12 pairs of cranial nerves, and spinal nerves which arise from the spinal cord, that is spinal nerves which arise from the 31 pairs of spinal nerves. These are said to be voluntary in action. So all the nerves which arise from the brain, that is cranial nerves, 12 pairs of cranial nerves and 31 pairs of spinal nerves, these are said to function voluntary, that is under the control of a will. Actions are taken up by the control of the will, direct control of the will. The activities are under the direct control of the will. Voluntary, or we call it as autonomic nervous system. So this autonomic nervous system is a specialized nervous system, children, where it develops from the branches of the cranial and spinal nerves. This autonomic nervous system develops from the branches of cranial and the spinal nerves, and these are also called visceral nerves, children. These are also called visceral nerves. Why these are called visceral nerves? Because they are developed from the branches of the cranial and the spinal nerves. Now this visceral or autonomic nervous system is again of two types, children: sympathetic and parasympathetic. Sympathetic and parasympathetic. Sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. Now I told you these are involuntary in action. Both are involuntary in action. Then what about sympathetic and parasympathetic? Both are opposite in nature, children. For example, sympathetic system prepares the body for any emergency. This will prepare the body for any emergency with the help of the hormone called adrenaline. So adrenaline is one of the hormone which helps for sympathetic nervous system. Okay. Now parasympathetic nervous system is against. This sympathetic nervous system helps to prepare the body for emergency. It also causes constriction. It contracts so that the blood vessels, when the blood vessels contract, it increases the blood supply to the heart and increases the heartbeat. So that is the function of sympathetic nervous system. Whereas parasympathetic nervous system, it is opposite to the sympathetic functioning. So like for example, when sympathetic nervous system contracts, parasympathetic nervous system relaxes. Or when sympathetic nervous system dilates, this will constricts or contracts. So here both are opposite in nature. For example, I'll give an example. For example, heart. When we take the functioning of the heart, how is the sympathetic and parasympathetic? In case of heart, this is sympathetic and this is parasympathetic. With the example, I'll explain it, children. So both are opposite in nature. When in sympathetic nerves contract, the parasympathetic nerves relax. When they dilate, this will contract. So here, in case of heart, when the heart, regarding to sympathetic nervous system, that is the functioning of the heart accelerates. Means the pumping will be at a greater height. In parasympathetic condition, it slows down. And you can even see the blood pressure also, children. In case of blood pressure, the pumping of the blood from the heart, you can see in case of blood pressure, so regarding to sympathetic nerves, here it increases. In parasympathetic it decreases. Okay children, so like that, even you can see urinary bladder. Regarding to urinary bladder, what is the function of sympathetic? Urinary bladder relaxes, or we can say it relaxes. When the urinary bladder relaxes, there is release of the urine, and here parasympathetic, it constricts or it becomes tightened. Understood children? So sympathetic and parasympathetic are opposite in nature. These two together we call it as autonomic nervous system, or we call it as involuntary, which is nothing but the peripheral nervous system. Okay children, in the next video we shall learn about the next part of the lesson. Thank you.